Hey y'all, in commerce and contract law land, just going through a conditional acceptance template educational training and document that we have recently added to our signature membership members who are students of the Empower Yourself Pack, which is a plethora of trainings, documents, templates, instructions for your contract law and commercial law study, as well as 4 hours of personal one-on-one cumulative coaching, as well as 6 months of email access back and forth, as well as 12 months of membership and updates. So this is newly, as of September 8th, 2013, a newly sample conditional acceptance letter. And basically when you would need this is, here's a letter that is typical responses that we see that people ask us or are trying to find how to reply to. So for example, by the way, we're blacking out to keep some people's information private here, but it says the Law Department of Springleaf Financial Services Inc. Springleaf is in receipt of your correspondence dated so-and-so that inquires about the validity of the debt you owe Springleaf and alleges that your debt is now paid in full. That were if you were to do a set-off or notice of discharge process on a financial account. Very often they will write something back like this. And they will continue and say the correspondence uses terms to imply payment of your debt that you consider your account paid in full or settled. Springleaf expressly rejects any assertions that your correspondence is a payment on your account with this correspondence or that your account has been paid in full or settled. Consequently, any and all allegations of law and fact contained in your letter are denied. You remain obligated to Springleaf for all amounts owing on your account until payment is received in full by Springleaf. In addition, your payments continue to be due as outlined in the terms of your loan agreement. Should you fail to make payments on your account, Springleaf may invoke any of the remedies specified in your loan agreement or as allowed by law. If you have questions regarding accounts, please contact our office, blah, blah, blah. Sincerely, Legal Coordinator. Letters like that, very common. It doesn't mean that your process is not working. It means that they can't acknowledge it in the public. So what we recently did was upgrade and put together a more effective, this is like a catch-all conditional acceptance letter format, and it should catch all the reasons. I will read a little bit of it to you. We're just going to get to I'm just going to make this video short, jump right into the meat of it. You're going to basically say in reply to your correspondence regarding this account, I received your letters itemized, or your letter specifically itemized above, to which I am returning and enclosing to you, nunc pro tunc to the itemized dates listed above, and to which I am conditionally accepting all the offers in all these letters, including but not limited to any alleged debts and or non-payments or late payments or past due payments and or outstanding balances, any nullifications or rejection of any set-off or settlement of the account listed above related to the account holder upon proof of claim that, and it's got all the points in the right order. Jump through a few of them. The jurisdiction of our interaction has not been expressly agreed to as private international commercial law. Why is this important? Because they're assuming or trying to transverse you into the jurisdiction of the United States of America, and they're trying to say you can't do that. Then you might say, I condition upon proof of claim that you have not kept and are not now the holder in due course of the negotiable instrument, bond number, tendered via registered mail number so-and-so. And upon proof of claim that you have identified a defect in the instrument tendered for set-off, settlement, and closure of the account, or you have provided notice of dishonor from the draweree of said instrument, which is basically, let's say the Secretary of Treasury has a notice of dishonor. They're not going to acknowledge the instrument. So you send this to the Springleaf Financial Company, and then they go and supposed to deliver it to the Treasury. Does the Secretary of Treasury say, we're not accepting this. They would have to put it in a notice of dishonor. Just like how you go and cash any check or so on and so forth, you're going to need to provide somebody, with that return check. Oh, this check we're not accepting. It's called a notice of dishonor. So unless they're able to identify a defect in the instrument, produce a notice of dishonor, or provide a certificate of protest from the presenter of the instrument, they don't have a claim. They can't just say, we reject. They can't just say that. Okay? They gotta put something of substance and in form. They have to respond in an affidavit. So we're going to go through, there's actually 13 or 15 points in this letter. There's a negative averment affidavit attached to it. I'm just going to go over the first little section here, give you a little teaser as to what, how much depth and detail we go into. This is, again, a letter that's going to cover all the reasons and give you all the strong points of nullifying their supposed little rejection letter. Again, this letter is not in an affidavit. It's not on a point-by-point basis under sworn penalty of perjury. There's nothing that they're providing that nullifies, hey, according to UCC, I tendered a negotiable instrument, and you still the holder in due course of it. So all this stuff is BS unless you accept it. This is an offer. They're recontracting with you. They're giving you an offer. If you keep this and don't rebut this within 72 hours, you're accepting it. They're getting you to move off your contract, or they're giving you an opportunity to put in a conditional acceptance, which will be a second witness to the strength and validity and verification of your contract that the account is set off, settled, and closed. So it's, how do you look at it? Is this someone who's trying to move me off my contract, or are they giving me an opportunity to strengthen and bring a second witness to my contract? Which is the way that I prefer to look at it. So, I conditionally accept your offer upon proof of claim that by keeping the negotiable instrument, it does not deem your acceptance. UCC 3603, tender of payment. If tender of payment of an obligation to pay an instrument is made to a person entitled to enforce the instrument, the effective tender is governed by the principles of law applicable to tender of payment under a simple contract. Tender of payment of an obligation to pay an instrument is made to a person entitled to enforce the instrument, and the tender is refused, there is discharged to the extent of the amount of the tender of the obligation of an endorser or accommodation party having a right or recourse with respect to an obligation to which the tender relates. C. If tender or payment of amount due on instruments made to a person entitled to enforce the instrument, the obligation of the obligor to pay interest after the due date on the amount tendered is discharged. If presentment is required with respect to an instrument, the obligor is able and ready to pay on the due date at every place of payment stated in the instrument, the obligor is deemed to have made tender payment on the due date to the person entitled to enforce the instrument. Number 5, condition accept your offer upon proof of claim that you have nullified your fiduciary appointment and your fiduciary obligations in this matter under private and national commercial law by providing proof in the form of an unrebutted affidavit as to why you are not entitled to enforce the negotiable instrument. Very strong point. And this is if you've made express their fiduciary appointment and their fiduciary obligations. If you haven't made it express, you might want to, upon proof of claim that you nullified the express fiduciary appointment and your fiduciary obligations. Or if you never sent them a notice of fiduciary appointment clause or notice in your security agreement, your original agreement that you sent with your instrument, maybe you use the word implied here. Upon proof of claim, you have nullified the implied fiduciary obligations, or just leave it out. It's, it sounds a little weak by putting the word implied in there, but make sure that you delete this if you haven't put that in there, if you haven't given them a fiduciary appointment. But we've got, the letters and so forth that you can do that. In this manner, under private and national commercial law, and providing proof in the form of an unrebutted affidavit as to why you are not entitled to enforce a negotiable instrument. Now, you see how above where we say provide proof why you're not entitled, we put by keeping the instrument does not deem your acceptance, and we put all this information in here as to, okay, the jurisdiction, they're the holder in due course, here's the proof, the registered mail receipt, you've identified a defect in the instrument, and actually you may want to even put, upon proof of claim that you're not allowed to hold in due course a negotiable instrument, bond number, registered via registered mail number, and recorded on UCC1 financing. UCC1 and UCC3 financing statement, and add that in there. Let's do a few more. Your course of performance and conduct in our relationship as recorded by the whatever private records company of your choice, custodian of records, and third-party witness, which would be better to use than a notary, and we can discuss with you later why. In their normal course of business, does not certify your quote acceptance of the instrument, and are therefore bound by the terms and conditions of the private security agreement. So upon proof of claim that I conditionally accept your rejection, upon proof of claim that your course of performance and conduct in our relationship as recorded by the third-party custodian of records witness in their normal course of business does not certify your acceptance of the instrument and provide a record that you are bound by the conditions of the private security agreement. I have to add that in there. And upon proof of claim that you have rebutted on a point-by-point basis the claimant's presentment on July 4, 2013 in either substance or the form that is proper in order for nullification of the lawful and enforceable effect of said presentment. And upon proof of claim that any of your rejection correspondences were in an affidavit under penalty of perjury. And upon proof of claim that any of your rejection correspondence are not deemed frivolous statements according to clause whatever of the private security agreement, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to give it all away here. I'm just going to give you a little intro. But if you want this letter and the study guide that goes with it so that you can learn and study the conditional acceptance processes that you would use for any and all responses regarding mortgage issues. They come back and say, oh, we're rejecting that. Credit card processes, student loans, criminal cases, IRS traffic, etc. It's all in here, and we provide all the support to assist people. You can go to our website. You can join our there's two things I want to point out here that are kind of new. You can go and join our email and announcement list. You'll get our email. You can write back personally. We answer and respond to all emails within 24 to 72 hours, 99% of the time. Select your area of interest the most, and a rep will actually contact you if you don't contact us first to make sure that you have everything that you're looking for. Okay? And the second thing I want to point out, if you want to go and learn about all the services that we have, including the outlines and educational materials for your processes for debt discharge, various different situations, go to services offered on the right hand side here underneath the business guy with the suitcase and the wings. Services offered, and it's going to say protected content. We are a private member association based on education, an online private university, so to speak. So it says the content you're trying to access is private and only available to members. If you wish to subscribe, agree to the terms and conditions and subscribe here. So click that link, and you're going to get, it's a free membership to access the various different sections on the website. So read this notice, sign up, and this is separate from this announcement list. So make sure you get on both of them if you would like. So then you've got, from there, once you log in, save your password, and you can access the services offered section. You could access other topics. You could access the examples of debt eradication processes to show what our students have been able to accomplish. So that's all, folks. If you have any questions, sign up for our announcement list, and you will receive our direct phone number and email address so you can get all the assistance that we may be able to offer you. Good luck.